this is not something I'm mad at. This is something I'm excited about, because we've discussed, I've got a soft spot for Latin American politics. We had Daniel Pardo on to break down the election of Colombia's first leftist president a few weeks ago, or a few months ago at this point, Gustavo Petro, and talked about his environmental policies and the hopes that he's trying to change Colombia's extractive, fossil fuel-based economy, transition it essentially, right? We also spoke about debt and the ways that U.S. And other international debt straps second world or global South countries into that sort of like endless cycle of carbon emissions and extraction, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera, at the detriment of the Amazon, at the detriment of rainforests, at the detriment of their own well-being, of rural and indigenous communities. And rarely do you hear some of that, like, just really incredible fire being spit on the world stage out of the mouth of someone like a new leftist president, like Gustavo Petro, who spoke at the UN General Assembly this week and basically called out, I would imagine mostly like first world nations, the West, the so-called heavy quotations, democratic nations, basically on the way that they utilize the global South as their dumping ground, all while they don't actually change policies, like, for example, drug policies, to actually mitigate violence, to actually help people. And here's what he had to say, and I will translate as I play.
Para excusar los vacíos y las soledades de su propia
So he says,
sociedad,
we serve you only to fill the emptiness. Hang on, let me start this again because I need it. We serve you to only fill the emptiness and loneliness of your society,
de su propia sociedad, que la llevan a vivir
which you are leading to
en
live
medio
in
de
the
las
midst of
burbujas de
drug
las
bubbles.
drogas.
Drug bubbles.
Les ocultamos sus
We
problemas
hide
que se
from your
niegan a
problems.
reformar.
We hide you from your
Mejor es
problems.
declararle la guerra a las
This was easier in theory and less easy as I'm actually trying to do it. Hang on.
burbujas de las, en medio de las burbujas de las drogas. Les ocultamos sus
We hide
problemas
from
que se
you your
niegan a
problems that you
reformar.
refuse to reform.
Mejor es declararle la
It's better to
guerra a la
declare war on
selva,
the jungle,
a
on its
sus
plants, on
plantas,
its
a sus
people,
gentes. Mientras dejan
while
quemar
you
las
let the forest
selvas,
burn, while being
mientras
hypocrites
hipócritas
chase the
persiguen las
plants
plantas con
with
venenos
poisons to
para
hide the
ocultar los
disasters of your own
desastres de su propia
societies.
sociedad, nos piden más y más
You ask us for
carbón,
more and more coal,
más
more and
y
more
más
oil
petróleo para calmar la
to
otra
calm your other
adicción,
addiction, that of
la del
consumption of
consumo,
money, of
la
power.
del poder, la del dinero. No es la selva
It's
la
not the
culpable.
rainforest that's to
La
blame.
culpable es
The
su
culprit is your
sociedad
society
educada
educated in
en el
endless
consumo
consumption,
sin fin, en la
in the
confusión
stupid
estúpida
confusion between
entre
consumption
consumo y
and
felicidad
happiness
que permite, eso sí,
that allows the
que
pockets
los
of
bolsillos
power
del
to
poder
fill with
se
money.
llenen de dinero.
Bruh. Oh my God. Like, shit, dude. This is like, he's having his little Greta Thunberg moment or his big moment. This is president just recently assumed in August of Colombia, Gustavo Petro, to the General Assembly. Now, yeah, it wasn't the longest speech. I think the leader of Iran had the longest speech, which makes sense because the guy's got a lot to distract from at this point. But it was searing and important, and just like, you guys just ask us for more and more and more coal and oil to feed your consumptive addictions. It's kind of the like staring into the soul moment. He's just sort of grasping the, I don't know who was at lunch. I don't know who was there. I don't know if people actually listened or paid attention, or when they're listening, their little like translator boxes and they're like, oh, he's talking about capitalism. Ugh, next. But that's effectively what he's doing. And I think, especially for a country that is, I would say, as strategic of a partner to the United States as Colombia in its efforts around the failed drug war, in its efforts around, free trade agreements and all that, in the ways it has consistently leaned on the leaders of Colombia to get their, whether it's trade unionists fighting Coca-Cola back in the 90s, to indigenous people, to, rural folks, to anyone to just pipe down so that we can continue to make money off of your country and your natural resources. And here you have Gustavo Petro, whether or not he's going to be able to deliver on this. And we talked, you guys should all look back and listen back to the Daniel Pardo interview, where we discussed what Gustavo Petro will and will not be able to do. But I think that is it's just such a, it's like when you hear sometimes Bernie, sometimes Bernie got it, sometimes he doesn't, you know what I'm saying? Depending on the day, he's feeling off, he's feeling good. But it's like that Bernie energy. We're like, bruh, someone's saying the truth, and it feels very important. And so I'm not bitching about anything. I'm lifting up leaders in Latin America like that. And I hope there can be more of that. I know, you've got Gabriel Boric in Chile, very much aligned with that. And we shall see what is to come, especially upcoming elections in Brazil. What's going on, Frantifa? If you haven't already, subscribe to this channel right now. Hit that button. And also, you can become a patron and support the show every single week. Get access to bonus episodes and exclusive merchandise. Patreon.com/Bitchuation Room. Do it.